I am a massive Seiken Densetsu series fan. Despite them being comparatively simple to other Square Enix RPGs, its parent series, like Final Fantasy, I do enjoy the Mana series' distinct universe over that of Final Fantasies, and that's probably to do with my exposure to it before Final Fantasies, as well as its more action-oriented gameplay, which helps separate it and Chrono Trigger from that of Final Fantasy. Hell, Chrono Trigger and Secret of Mana go so far as to look almost identical in color palette and character design over Final Fantasy. Definitely more Western-oriented, especially considering how Seiken Densetsu came from Final Fantasy Adventure, which was an extremely dumbed-down Final Fantasy for Western audiences. So when Square Enix started in earnest to bring back the universe of Seiken Densetsu, starting with the 3D remaster, which was also a partial remake of Secret of Mana, there they moved the game from its pixel fixed view gameplay to that of a 3D world with 3D models and characters and objects in the world, but kept it with that same perspective, as well as modernized and updated some gameplay aspects and added a bit of new content here or there, where it kind of made sense. They then followed this with the remake of Trials of Mana, a full upgrade, and the first time the game was officially available in English. Prior English translations were banned translations of ROMs of the original SNES title, as the game had too much text to be translated into English thanks to the limited memory space on the cartridges. That and the original title had a terrible, well-known bug where the luck stat just did not work. Then we got a true remaster in that of Legend of Mana, bringing it to the updated HD world, and another title I loved being able to dive back into, that with it being updated and available for me to actually play. And that came in 2021. I mean, back in 2003, Square Enix did their first remake of the series, the first title, Final Fantasy Adventure, into a true Mana series title, with the Game Boy Advance release of Sword of Mana, which I would love a modern remake of that as well, but the work had begun long ago. We also won't talk about any other remake of Final Fantasy Adventure, Adventures of Mana, that was exclusively made for phones and yet again different, but really its success probably spurred on the renewed interest in the Mana series because it became much later. It came much later than that first remake, or even Secret of Mana's remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, Visions of Mana. Square Enix announced this new Seiken Densetsu game, and I was elated. A demo recently released, and of course I dove in and played the crap out of it. For good measure as well. This Square is planting trees for engagement with the demo and videos based on ours, so let's dive into it, shall we? Overall, this is a very game reminiscent of the Seiken Densetsu series. It is a Mana series game. Though the gameplay and visuals are 100% modernized, by that I mean it's a third-person action game with RPG elements, more so than there have been prior. The gameplay zones are no longer shifting screens of small sizes, but rather large open fields, where the only segments here are when you move to a city or an entire other biome. At least in the demo, that is how it was. Cities with merchants, special zones, and open fields. That is what seems like we can expect. Unlike past games, there were no buildings that we could enter where merchants are housed, but rather in the demo they were in the market stalls of the port city, so perhaps there will be no interiors. The transition to 3D is fine. The art style, character design, and colors are all still undeniably of the Mana series, and that is important. It still exists in that pseudo-style of prior Mana titles such as Secret of Mana, or Legend of Mana, or Trials of Mana, you know, mixed with how Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross, where Square just decided to branch off from Final Fantasy. Speaking of Chrono Trigger, where's that remake Square? Of course there are some things that look kind of odd in this major transition, but that's something that I can kind of live with overall, as it is a full modernized update to the game's series. The sound work is also great. The voice actors have done a great job in the booth, though I don't know about English, I only played with the original Japanese audio. The music is also distinctly that of the Mana series, which is how I was able to pinpoint the reveal as being a Mana series game, along with the art when it was revealed. The music is probably one of the most important parts of the series to me. It is definitely one of the most distinctive. But with that, let's move into the gameplay itself and what was available in the demo. The combat is fluid and fun. It took me a while to get used to the full 3D movement, the verticality offered by having access to double jumping in the environment and in combat, as well as the unlimited dashing and how that can interact with combats and evading damage, as well as extending combos on enemies you are knocking around, as well as its usage in air as well. It was clunky at first, but I think it was purely an issue since it was the demo, and we didn't kind of start off the game from the start knowing exactly how it worked in a slow build-up. You're also starting off with a specific class on the character, which I didn't find to be intuitive over the base class that the main character Val had, so that could have been involved as well. So, each character and subsequently their equipped class and weapon alters the basic combos, the heavy attack, or sometimes it's called special attack, as well as the vessel ability and class strike ability. You'll be hacking and slashing, and weaving in active skills or applying buffs and debuffs. It's more active than prior titles, as it's more in line with a modern game, but the bones are still there. Elemental advantages and disadvantages exist and play a big part, as they always have had, so using the right skills against the right enemies is important. This means casting fire magic or applying fire weapon buffs correctly. But of course, this goes for all returning 8 elemental affinities from the series, though we did only have access to 2 in the demo, that being Moon and Fire. Or, I guess, Moon and Wind. Fire was just some abilities you could have that you unlocked with the Wind Vessel on Val. Prior games would have each character maintain what is mostly the same build, but allowing you to equip a variety of weapons does slightly alter your playstyle. Well, that system has been greatly evolved in Visions of Mana. Your party of up to 5 distinct characters all have their base class, but that can be further changed by equipping a vessel. These vessels are attuned to a specific mana spirit, and yes, of course, mana spirits are returning. They are the basis for Seiken Densetsu and the powers that you acquire. These then give each character a new weapon in some cases, as well as new abilities to unlock with skill points. Now, it is 100% worth equipping each vessel to each character at least once to unlock that class, even if you do not want to play as it. Because once a class is unlocked, you can then level up its abilities, which unlocks them, and mix and match skills from one class to another. This is a fantastic overall system upgrade. This will allow you to create some really unique gameplay builds based upon your preferences across all of the active party members. This is true for Val, this was true for Karina, and this was true for Morley in the demo, and I'm sure it will be true for the other 2 characters in the full game. Furthermore, skill seeds allow you to augment your builds even further. These seeds can be character specific via unlocks from the vessel screen, or found from acquired from side quests, which I will go over later, or perhaps even other means of acquiring them, such as completing in-game challenges, which you will run across, or finding them in chests. They are anything from passive buffs, such as you take less status element damage, or your class strike deals more damage, or you're targeted less by enemies. Class Strike is an ultimate move you have available via filling a meter, then expending it with the press of a button. This is gained by landing attacks. It's a large cinematic style attack, not like other attacks from older titles where you held down your button and it filled up your meter, released it, and then you had a leveled attack. That was just kind of automatic and went through it. So further into the full game, maybe you can build it up across multiple meters for different attacks, but who knows as of right now. You can switch between your active party members, as well as play as who you want as long as they have joined you, being able to utilize their magic how you see fit in battle, or just want to use their class and weapons because you find it more fun or a better fit for combat. For the members acting independently, you can, of course, modify their behavior as in prior titles, altering who they choose to attack, be it the same enemy or a different enemy, or the strongest enemy or the weakest enemy, their use of magic, as well as their uses of items, how stingy they're going to be with preserving their mana power, or how stingy they're going to be with using candies or items that restore mana. Who knows? Furthermore, you do also have support characters who will provide aid from the sidelines. Trailers have shown 3 so far who can support you via buffs, debuffs, and for the enemies, as well as healing your party on the fly or restoring mana. In the demo, this fell to Hina, the second character, who is the lifelong friend of Val. She's in the cutscene. You'll recognize where you see her. She's providing healing magic and restoration magic from the sidelines throughout all of the combat encounters. But how will you be spending your time fighting? Well, the addition of side quests have been added. Now, these aren't immensely amazing reward-wise, or content-wise, at least in the demo. At least not the 6 available that we had. But that could change further into the game, of course. Lucre, otherwise known as money, Lucre, I think it's Lucre. Consumables and sometimes ability seeds can be the rewards for these side quests. These side quests will have you exploring the areas around the main city hubs, or just the biomes in general, and exploring those areas has its own benefits. The play area for these locations isn't small, but overall not immensely large. You're given a picule to summon and ride around on, allowing you to quickly traverse the area and help avoid fights more easily that you don't want to participate in. As a bonus, you can interact with everything in the world that you need to while on top of the picule. You don't have to dismount and then remount for every single chest or item or save point or whatever, unless you specifically need to for a combat encounter or something like that. One thing is, I do wish that dismounting was a lot faster. I think it takes like 6 seconds to dismount from your picule. I hope that gets changed in the future, but that's really a minor inconvenience more than anything else. If you do encounter tough enemies, you are locked into combat right away, and you can just run to the border of the arena, and for a given amount of time of running into that border, you can escape, and then you can come back and fight another day without dying and having to reload. Your side quests will also sometimes lead to specific areas to kill waves of a specific enemy, waves of a locale-specific enemies, or a number of specific enemies across the entire field, or even just pick up an item that was lost and return it. They don't seem necessary in the slightest, but the experience gained from combat involved in the quest, as well as the XP gained from the completion, might still be worth it and probably will be the main draw of doing these, as it'll help you level up faster and thus unlock more abilities faster, as you'll be unlocking abilities from overall 8 different classes on each character to mix and match. Furthermore, there are certain breakpoints in your classes that require special consumables, and these might come from side quests later on. The field also has points of interest marked for you, so they are easier to find. The chests weren't hidden from sight or in secret areas, as a small green circle marks them on the full map, as well as the mini-map. It's not only chests that are marked, though. It is anything of interest. Of course, the items you find, lucre, such as well as grizzly sap, have to be used for something. Grizzly sap will be used to purchase above average consumables for your location, such as chocolate instead of candy, or, more importantly, special one-use potions that have a limited amount of purchases. Grizzly sap doesn't respawn, they aren't enemies. So to get the most out of each region, you will want to do a bit of exploring and sap hunting. There could be further quests or activities in the game that do provide more grizzly sap, but so far there was nothing like that. There was a dictionary for the grizzly merchant as well to translate what they were saying, which is kind of weird, but whatever. In the demo, strength, stamina, vitality, and magic potions, upgrade potions, each cost 10 grizzly sap apiece, and I was able to, only buying 4 potions of each of the 4 types, that being 160 sap, get all 16 potions and nothing else from that shop. Those stat boosts are incredibly strong. Who knows what will be available in the future to spend that sap on, maybe special, more powerful weapons, but those stat boosts were easily the thing to prioritize, as just flat stat boosts are always the best thing you can do. Other than the Grizzly Merchant, you do have your returning cast of dancing merchants. You have your consumables merchant, who sells consumables such as healing items. This is where you get your candy, your cup of wishes, your walnuts, whatever. Then you also have your armor merchant. Your armor merchant will be selling armor for your characters. I didn't see any armor accessories, only main armor. There was no like armbands or helmets in this iteration of a Mana series title, which was kind of weird, making it more simple, but that might be due to the fact that The weapon merchant sells multiple weapon types for characters. The weapon can change for each character based upon the class, so that might be where that complexity has gone. But the weapon merchant sells weapons available up to a specific level based upon the region and the characters you should have unlocked at the time. The main story we had was very baseline. It was a good overview, though. Val is escorting the alms of mana on their pilgrimage to the mana tree to save the world by sacrificing the alms. This is how it's always been, of course. So the alms are just kind of okay with their trip to die. It's a rather dark story we have, but you then meet a character that Val and his friend Hina, who was the chosen alm of fire from their village, says he discovered that sacrificing the alms was not always the way that it was done a long time ago, but it's just a myth. The idea of this story does intrigue me. People are okay and excited for the alms with their great honor of being a sacrifice for the tree, for the mana tree. It's just how it is. It's just this cycle, and they're okay with it. They're even honored by it. Flipping this destiny on its head via the story seems like, which is what will be happening, but does excite me for what's to come with Visions of Mana when it launches. Val is a super happy-go-lucky guy and helpful to all. He's just saying, yes, I'll go search for your hairpin by this dilapidated tower surrounded by monsters. Why not? Karina, the female half-dragon of your party, is extremely peppy. Morley, and well, she's also tsundere. It's clear. Morley is very rigid and proper. He's also a cat boy. And he wields trios of daggers in the two available classes. No, he doesn't have a third arm. He wields a dagger with his fucking tail. Good job, Square Enix. That's how you do it. You let the cat boy wield a dagger with his tail. We also have Hina. She is the helpful sidekick of Val, essentially. Though Val is technically all the alms sidekicks since he's their guard. She provides buffs outside of the combat, but while you are in combat, such as healing, mana restoration, whatever you want to call it. So, these four characters are likable. They're voiced fairly well. Like I said, I only listen to it in Japanese. That's how I play it. Subtitles and usually the original language. Doesn't matter what game it is. So, they were likable. The overall idea of the story intrigues me. It's a great honor to go be sacrificed to a tree, but now, oh, there might be another way. This isn't how it's always been. Obviously, something's been flipped on its head to keep the mana spirits at bay because they're just now returning, which is really weird. Anyways, overall, I'm pretty excited and pleased with the slice of Visions of Mana that was made available to us. There's immense amount of potential in the revival of the Seiken Densetsu series with the first new titles in 8 years, almost 2 decades, and I'm not going to count the shitty the shitty only mobile titles that were released by Square. It's fucking awful. So yeah, it's almost been 2 decades, and I wouldn't say I don't have my worries though either. The length of the title comes to mind. They've never been extremely long games, and a lot of it has been filled with just backtracking. But the title is not a full-price title, so there is that. But I don't know, if I can get a good solid 10 hours of gameplay out of this by just going through and completing the main story and most of the side content, I'll be happy. Maybe 15 by doing everything and upgrading everything, I don't know. But length is always going to be a concern. The demo, from what I understand, was a complete act. An act which ends with seems like players acquiring Undyne, the mana spirit of water, or at least the vessel for Undyne. The combat was fluid and engaging. It's a proper modernization of the formula that they've built up over the years for the title. So that's always really good. If you're gonna have an action role-playing game, you need to have good action, and the action suffices. It'll be engaging enough. There'll be enough variety, enough enemy variety aside to add some bit of strategy to it on what skills you're going to be equipping and using mostly. So there's always that. The art style, for the most part, is brought forward really, really well. The environments are fantastic. They're vivid. They pop. They're detailed. The characters look great. They look like fantastic 3D renderings of what you'd expect a modernized 2D pixel art that this style has always been looks like. And of course, it looks like Val has the same hair. He looks like he's the reincarnation of the Mana Swordsman from, you know, the first game, and then Secret of Mana, and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. But his eyes are just kind of weird. I can't explain it. They're sheeny and they look hollow. I don't like it. I don't know if it looks bad, but I just don't like it. The new class system is neat. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great how it works, is each character will have a different class. I mean, Morley shared weapon types. Val had completely different weapon types, though. But I'm sure some might have some crossovers. But there's definitely unique skills and passive skills through all the classes to unlock. So having access to 8 different types of magic, technically 9, because your base classes have some skills too, I think. No. If you don't have a vessel, you don't have any skills to unlock with that. You need the vessels to unlock skills. But each class has a unique visual style. Combat attacks, combo attacks. I think it's a really, really great system, being able to mix and match the skills and passives from each class that you unlock, as long as you take the time leveling up to do that. But going off of that class system, where you're going to have 5 different characters with 8 different classes, that's 40 classes to mix and match skills from for your characters for your party. I don't know in combat if you're going to have all 5. I don't know if you're going to choose which 3 are with you at a time. If you have all 5 in combat with you at the same time, that's going to be amazing. That's going to be fantastic. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a little bit hectic. You're going to be some chaos managing that, especially with the limited usage of items being 10 in combat if people get wiped out by a big AoE. But I think it'd be fun. I'm sure mods will exist for the PC version for that at some point. But going off of that class system and how high I am on it, my major worry is those side quests. They just aren't, at least from the 6 we had in the demo, engaging at all. It was go 50 feet back the way you came and kill 2 waves of spawning enemies and get 1400 lucre and some XP. It was go back out of the town, halfway across the field, pick up a hairpin and come back. Here's some candy. Here's a piece of candy and some XP. It was go kill 5 bee lancers all over the field, then come back. Here's a luck ability seed and some XP. It just wasn't great. There's enough of a reason to explore the open field with the grizzly sap, the chests, the stones that will give you like a boost to your power, give you some skill points. The side quests, it's just, they don't tie into the story at all. They were just really, really poor busy work. I'm worried because these will be a major slog. They weren't engaging at all. You want your side quests to tie into the main quest, the main struggle. And if they don't do that, you want them to be completely engaging on their own. They just need to be relevant, or so good that they don't need to be relevant. They can stand on their own, and they just weren't that. Now, this is a fairly early point in the game. It could just be ramping up, and this could just be the first zone where there are side missions. You did get a little pop-up, a tutorial pop-up, but that could just be because it was a demo saying, hey, go do side missions. So that is a major worry. Those need to be more engaging. Otherwise, it will be a slog point for a lot of people, and you're going to need to do it for the XP, because they offer a lot of XP compared to just mindlessly killing enemies. Anyways, Visions of Mana, aside from that one sticking point that I have, does seem to be at least an adequate jump into the modern era of gaming for the Seiken Densetsu series. But also with many of the typical shortfallings that modern RPGs with open world areas do have. It's just busy work like Ubisoft open world games have, and that's what I'm kind of worried for with Visions of Mana, is those side quests will just be busy work. But other than that, the art style, the combat, the character design, the class systems, the story, for a Square game is always a big one. The story seems like it can be fantastic as well. So I am still greatly looking forward to the first Seiken Densetsu game that matters. The first new one that matters in 18 years.